the JobBag at Home episode 1 presentation that was done. Unfortunately, the original video was not of good enough quality. Something went wrong, so we've just done this recording so that you've got it available. What we're going to do is we're going to run through all the same basic presentation so that you can review everything that we did on that presentation. So there were 3 key topics. One is how to set up for the JobKeeper Subsidy, 2, how to stand down your employees correctly because they do actually still accrue leave entitlements even though you stood them down, and 3 is how to pay employees who will receive the JobKeeper top-up. So we'll get into that right now. It's really important that you use the employment details tab in the employees area to keep track of all changes that you make to the terms and conditions of each employee. It will help you down the track when, being positive, this situation is behind us and you can restore everybody back to their normal employment terms and conditions and salaries, etc. But in the interim, you've got to keep a track of exactly what changes you've made so that you can accurately reflect their entitlements and the changes that were made. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that may help you keep an overview of exactly what you've done for each employee. There is a thing in JobBag called an address book detail field, and I'll show you how I've used this to keep track of the things that we've done. So here we are in JobBag. I'm just going into File Configuration and into the Detail Types area. And in the detail types, you'll notice that I've gone and created, just by clicking on New, just like that, I've gone and created a special COVID pay status field. And what I've done is I've said that I want it to be just for the address book and only for employees. It's just a general purpose value, meaning that it will contain text and numbers and characters, and that's it. You can do multiple entries, but I don't think that, well, I hope that you won't need more than one. And we want to display it in the browse window. If you set that up like that, what you will end up with is a column like this that you can add to your work list of employees. So here I am in the address book. I've got an employees work list, and all I did to add this in was I clicked on the cog for the work list, and if I scroll down under the details area, you'll notice there are all these other different fields, and I just took that field and popped it into this work list. So it originally was like that, and all I needed to do was say I want that field, drag it across to here, and hey presto, it appears then in my work list, and so I can now keep track of all the different things that I do with my employees. In order to use that field, all you have to do is when you go and edit an employee, you'll notice that you can turn around and go down to the employee area, and you'll notice that there is now a COVID pay status field, and I can just type in here, this is exactly what we do with this person. In this instance, salary reduced by 50%, save that, that will then appear in here. You'll see that I've done for this person here, they're on 2 days a week now. This person got stood down completely, and these are the examples that I'll be taking you through shortly in regard to how to do these 3 situations correctly. So the first thing is, how do you go and set up for the JobKeeper setup? Basically, you're going to need to have a new kind and a new item, being the allowance for the JobKeeper Subsidy, and it is an allowance. It needs to be reported as an allowance on the person's pay slip. Well, technically there's not a pay slip anymore. Well, sorry, pay slip, but also on their at the end of the year when all the details are uploaded to the ATO for inclusion in their tax return. The JobKeeper Subsidy needs to be reflected as an allowance. You're going to need to create a new general ledger account for the subsidy paid and received, because you will be getting that back from the government so long as you qualify. You'll be doing some mapping, and you're going to be creating new employment details for everybody who gets a top-up. and I'll show you how to do those two there. As you see here, we actually have written some JobBag help pages which detail exactly how to go about setting those up. So I'm not going to cover those in here. You'll be able to refer to those pages from within JobBag itself. Okay, so, but just so that you can see what we've done in the kinds window, you'll note that I have got in here a special kind which has got items in it, and it's mapped to a JobKeeper Subsidy expense, a GL account that I've created, and I've created a special payroll item called JobKeeper Subsidy, which you'll notice is a payroll item and which is included under allowances and is referenced as a JobKeeper allowance. That's really important that you set that up in that way. And you'll notice that the JobKeeper Subsidy, when it is paid to the employee, is not including superannuation, i.e. employer superannuation contributions. They are not part of the JobKeeper Subsidy. You don't have to pay the SGC contributions on the JobKeeper Subsidy. You'll also notice that I've done two different kinds, or two different items here. One which is not paid due to stand down, where I'm saying that that's 100%, we're not paying them. And I've got a separate one where we're saying we've reduced their salary as a result of COVID-19. You note that both of these are in a totally separate area, but they are both still items, then they're both payroll items. And you'll notice that this one, where you're standing them down, the amount is subtracted from the gross amount over which PAYG is calculated, and it's subtracted from the gross amount over which superannuation is calculated. This is to be used where you're standing them down completely, i.e. you're not paying them at all. And in circumstances where you are just reducing their salary, you have a separate item for that. And that separate item being, I've called it salary reduction COVID-19. Same thing, it's still a payroll item. You're subtracting it from their pay. It's subtracted from the gross amount over which PAYG is calculated, and it's subtracted from the gross amount over which super is calculated, i.e. your employer super contributions. With those two set up, that's the way you'll do it. So turning now to adjusting your employees. If we go and have a look at someone who has been stood down completely, so you'll notice that for Ginny Waters, I've said that she stood down completely. In the employment tab, you'll see that I've said from the 1st of April, here is a new employment record. I've just made a note in here, COVID-19. So what I did in setting this up was I said, okay, from the 1st of April, you'll notice I haven't changed her salary details. I've left all of that 100% exactly the same as it was before, because I don't want to remove that. We're just standing her down 100%. I've gone into before tax deductions and I've added in the item stand down not paid, and I've made that whole amount the same as the amount of her gross salary, which in effect brings her taxable salary down to nil. So this means that when we turn around and generate a pay slip for her, it will generate the pay slip as a nil pay slip, but it will still take up her annual leave and personal leave, and if applicable, long service leave accrual. Whatever you've got configured for her leave, that's what it will turn around and do. And that's what you can see has happened here, that when I've processed in advance, I hasten to add her pay slip for April, it's still gone and generated her annual leave and personal leave, which is exactly what you want it to do. For someone who has let me just go back to here. Oh yes, you will need, in order to handle nil pay slips, you will need to be on version 8, build 8.1009 or later. We'll be bringing you up to that in the not too distant future. We can handle all of the nil pay slips in earlier versions manually, and we'll do that for you. Now, so how to stand down your employees, how that is actually done. Let's go back to our pay slips. So here is that pay slip that I did for Ginny, and you'll notice that it says, okay, here's the ordinary time, and pay as per normal, and then we've got the not paid due to stand down. I'll just edit this so that you can see it. You'll notice that I've actually paid this already, but it's just there's ordinary time. Her stand down pay is deducted from that, which means that there is no taxable salary. There's no SGC, no PAYG, etc., but she does get her leave accrued, as I showed you just before. Right. So that's how you handle standing down employees. When you then have to pay employees who get a JobKeeper top-up. So this situation arises where, for example, someone is paid on a fortnightly basis and their fortnightly pay is less than $1,500. The JobKeeper Subsidy provides $1,500 per fortnight pro rata for anybody who matches the criteria for the JobKeeper Subsidy. So if their normal pay is less than $1,500 per fortnight, you will need to top up their pay. So I want to show you now how you turn around and do that. So here we go back to our address book and we say, okay, here is Jerome Baker. Now Jerome, up until the 29th of March, he was on 2 days a week, right? And his normal pay on a fortnightly basis was $1,120. Right, which meant that he is less than our $1,500 per fortnight under the JobKeeper Subsidy. So what I then did was created a new employment details record effective from the 30th of March, and I said, okay, from that date, here's his $1,120. Thank you very much. I then went into taxable allowances and said I'm adding in the JobKeeper allowance or the JobKeeper Subsidy, and I've added in for $380, which brings his taxable salary up to the $1,500 that is required by the JobKeeper Subsidy. So that's what he will receive every fortnight as a result of doing that. He gets taxed as normal on that, but what he doesn't get on that is he doesn't get the super guarantee super or your employer super on that. He only gets employer super on the normal amounts that you are paying him. So once I've done that and I turn around and pay him, and this is what happened when we turned around and paid him, generate the pay slip from the 30th of March. He gets his normal pay $1,120. He gets his JobKeeper Subsidy, which brings him up to $1,500. PAYG is normal, and employer super calculated just on his ordinary time earnings, not including the JobKeeper Subsidy. If you want to pay employer super on the JobKeeper Subsidy amount, you are welcome to, but it is not a requirement to do so. So that's how you do the top up. There is one other scenario where, and we were asked this by a client, where they have already reduced hours and salaries effective from April the 1st, and they believe that they're going to qualify for the JobKeeper Subsidy, and they wanted to know how do they actually do this. So my answer is this: assuming that your business will qualify for the JobKeeper Subsidy, you need to set up a new employment record for each employee that reflects the fact that you are adding in the JobKeeper Subsidy to their pay. And I'll show you how I did that in this little demo database. So here we've got a person, Alan Bond, he's a media planner. His salary was reduced by 50%. So you notice that from the 1st of March until the 31st of March, we had reduced his salary by 50%, and we had done that again using the stand down not paid item, so that we reflected that $42.50 of his pay was no longer going to be paid, and that's what resulted in this being his pay slip for March. But then saying from the 1st of April that he's now going to be eligible to get the JobKeeper Subsidy, and we're adding that into his salary, monthly salary, I created a new employment record to say, to reflect exactly that, adding in the JobKeeper Subsidy, but we're still leaving his 50% salary reduction in place. You'll notice that that's his 50% reduction as before, and you'll then see that we've given him his taxable allowance of the JobKeeper Subsidy, and because he's being paid on a monthly basis, I have prorated that on the basis of taking the 1,500, multiplying it by 26, which is 26 pays in a year, and then dividing it by 12 to arrive at 3,250. The tax office haven't actually given a direction at the time of recording this as to exactly how they want that subsidy calculated for a monthly basis, but that's a reasonable way to do it as a point of demonstration. Once you know the exact amount, you can use that yourself. So basically, as you can see, his salary is reduced, but he's getting the JobKeeper Subsidy. It then becomes part of his taxable salary. He'll pay PAYG on that, and away you go. So that then when we turn around and generate his pay slip, that's exactly what his pay slip will look like. You know, gross salary of X, a reduction of 4,250, but getting the JobKeeper allowance on top, which gets him pretty close back to where his pay was before. So that's the end of that basic presentation. I hope you find this useful. Please contact us on 02 8115 8090 with any questions, and also refer to the help pages in JobBag for that.